Pine Schools here with your November 14th board meeting summary. We got done tonight a little after 8 o'clock, pretty standard meeting schedule. We started off with our district recognitions. Tonight we were celebrating Tanya Everts, one of our staff at Ben Lapine Online, who has just done a tremendous job keeping students and parents at the ready for supporting those students in those programs. And we were excited to have this opportunity to celebrate her. The second thing we did was we heard a Student Advisory Council report. The two things that they shared were success in programming and things that are going well in South County. A lot of great conversations about how they're supporting students towards their path to graduation and the integration of the new credit recovery system in the school. And I think it's also known as Nighthawks, and that's starting up here just after Thanksgiving break. The second thing they shared was a little bit of their growth and journey on understanding the rotator schedule that exists at the high schools and getting that information in their hands so that they can go talk to their peers that maybe didn't understand why we made that decision, and a few requests, making sure that we handled that in a little bit of a different way so that when kids do their forecasting this spring for next year, they have that information ahead of time and they know how that's going to impact their schedule for next year. And that was a really fantastic conversation. We had two public comments. We heard from Rick Guyton today and Danielle Hernandez today. Rick had some things to share about what's going on in South County. He had students at both Roslyn and Lapine High and wanted to share about how the district handles complaints and potential harassment issues, where Danielle is currently the interim executive director at LCA and just wanted to draw attention to our partnership and how that partnership is continued to grow and evolve over years, and is looking for the effective communication in the future so that we can ensure that that goes well. Everything on the consent agenda passed today without discussion. And then we moved into our reports. We had two reports tonight. First, we heard from our ESD Alternative Learning Options director from Kathy McCollum, leading that group. And today's highlight was COIC, which is our Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council, and the work of Patrick, Jordan, and Josh Lagallo, and how they're impacting students seeking their GEDs or potentially looking to benefit from an alternative solution in classrooms, and how they best service those programs. That was a fantastic presentation and lots of discussion about how many of our students seeking their GED are actually sticking around to go ahead and finish their diploma too. And so just a lot of good celebration in that presentation. And then the second presentation report we had tonight was EL 4.2, which is about diversification of our staffing. And today we had Ryan Kellen pitch hitting for Steve Herron and presenting that data. And we talked a lot about staffing and changes in our staffing over the last few years as we've looked to increase the number of women in leadership roles in our district. And we've also looked to try to have our staff better reflect our community demographics. And so we are moving the needles on that, but we can continue to do better, and talking a little bit about the hiring processes as we develop and build out our HR systems to be able to track that information and to better report on that. We then had quite a few action items tonight. We had the supplemental transportation plan presented by Kim Crabtree, which is a submission we have to present to ODE to get additional funding for when we do emergency transportation in the no transport zone, 1 mile for elementary students, 1.5 miles for secondary students. Anytime we choose to transport, because there's risks or dangerous pathways for kids, we have to submit that report, and it has to have board approval. That was passed by our board. The second action item was a MUPTE tax exemption, which the city of Bend is required to get all taxing districts to opine on whether or not their addition of new housing in alignment with this federal program to receive funds to, or excuse me, state program to receive funds to subsidize additional housing. And we approved that one for tonight as well. And then we had 4 items that were associated with Oregon School Board Association, all passed without discussion. Lori Danzuka for OSBA Board of Director Position 3, which represents Central Oregon. She's a board member out of Jefferson County, was nominated and is now serving in that capacity. Courtney Sneed, also from Jefferson County, was nominated and passed to be the Legislative Policy Committee member from our region. We also approved the resolution to amend OSBA's bylaws relating to how they constitute their board of directors. And last but not least, they also amended the bylaws for OSBA that included membership from rural schools and the Color Caucus. And so that was a very quick set of our action items for our board to approve. And then we had a board discussion on progress for bargaining, and BEA and OSEA bargaining sessions are both we've moved into more extended sessions for both of those, and we reported on how that's been going, and that so far it's been moving along quite well, and that we're working through quite a few articles and getting the language adapted on both sides of that. And our next session is Wednesday, November 15th for OSEA, and November 28th with BEA Tuesday after we return back from the Thanksgiving holidays. Then it was time for administrative policy and regulations report. We have one policy and one regulation that's going out right now for public feedback, graduation exercises, where we talk about wearing items of cultural significance during graduation ceremonies. If you have thoughts about that policy, please give us your feedback. That's going to be out in public review for the next few weeks. My superintendent report followed that, and I talked about two things. I'll go through those quickly. It was just a quick update on the Climate and Culture Task Force and how the work that we've agreed to continuing in our schools is now in the kind of monitoring session to ensure it's happening in all of our schools. And then the second one was a great big shout out to Bend High for their work on their Veterans Day Assembly last week, where just a fantastic way of celebrating our veterans, and just a lot of respect and a lot of talent at Bend High that students shared and demonstrated with the veteran community that showed up for that event. And so shout out to Chris and team for that great event. And then board chair report, she shared three things. First one was our continued work on universal meals to get state funding minimum reduced so that matches the federal changes in funding and to qualify more students for free and reduced lunches. The second thing she wanted to share was a shout out for Pathway Oregon. Deschutes County currently leads the number of students that are applying for that subsidized funding for their college education, mostly for first generation students going to college. The fact that Deschutes County is leading the entire state for students that are taking advantage, that's a big celebration for our community and our region. And then last but not least, Terry Ramsdorf, former board member in Ben Lapine Schools and the High Desert ESD, passed away, and she just wanted to thank him for his service and just draw attention to his passing. And that's it. We had a few comments from our directors about the OSBA conference that they attended last week, and just a lot of celebration for that opportunity to spend time to learn and grow together to do better work on behalf of students and families and our teachers in our district. And so we dismissed and adjourned the meeting at about 8:05, and that's our update. And our next meeting is coming up in December, and we're looking forward to seeing you at those meetings. So take care.